So, good morning, afternoon, evening to everyone. Welcome to the Marketo Engage Champion Office Hours for January 2021. Crazy that we're already in 2021 and nearly halfway through over halfway through the month. Today's session, obviously, we're going to have a live Q&A with our current 2020 Marketo Champion class. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we do start the session. The webinar will be recorded and it will be available after the event. So if you registered and aren't able to attend the whole session, obviously you'll get the full recording when we're done. If you do have any questions, please do pop them into the Q&A section of the On24 console. We will basically answer them in, kind of in the orders that they're coming in. If you are going to post anything up on social media, obviously we would love you to be able to post any questions, answers, or any obviously promotions about what you thought of the event. Make sure you use the hashtag of Marketing Nation. And now I'm going to jump straight through to the champion introduction. So I'm going to start with the order that I see everyone on my screen. So Brooke, do you want to kick it off with a quick intro?
Yeah, thanks, Julz. Hi, everyone. I'm Brooke Bartos. I'm the Senior Manager of Marketing Operations at Walker Sands. We're a consultancy and digital agency located in Chicago. I've been using Marketo now for, seven years, three-time champion, and really glad to be here. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. Chiara.
Hi, everyone. I'm Chiara Riga. I am the Marketing Operations Manager at Digital Shadows. We're a cybersecurity company split between the Bay Area and London. And I have been in Marketo for about 5 years now, and this is my first year as a champion.
Awesome. So Alex.
Thanks, Julz. Alex Kreger. Marketing Automation Manager at Skillsoft. I'm a three-time Marketo champion and in normal times lead the Cleveland Mug. It's been a bit of a virtual mug for the past year, but it's been good. And have been in Marketo for probably 6-7 years now. Thanks.
Awesome. And last but of course not least, Warren.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm Warren Stokes. I'm first-time champ, and I've been using Marketo now for close to 8 years, I think. I lose count. But fun fact, I've attended over 45 mugs in 2020.
Because you're slightly crazy. So welcome to all of our champs. I should probably say my name, I'm Julz James. I'm going to be your moderator for this event. So let's jump straight in with our first question. So let's pass this one over to Alex. What is a custom object? Why would you use it over custom fields? And do you have any great examples of it?
Sure. Thanks, Julz. So a custom object is basically a way to relate your individual lead database from a one-to-many perspective. It allows you to kind of bring in, if you think about your lead database as a table in Excel, it allows you to bring another table into your database and relate it to individual leads, bringing in the ability for them to relate in multiple ways. Usually I've seen it used for bringing in items that you need to keep track of on a regular basis that you don't want maybe overwritten. So whether that's all the events a single person has attended over the course of their life cycle. I've seen it used in intent data when people are surging and what topics and what kind of keywords they're surging on for intent relationship. I've also used it in like sampling programs for a company where somebody was able to request multiple samples over time, and they needed to keep track of each individual, almost like a opportunity sale type of situation, but they didn't have a Salesforce connection. If anybody else has any examples that you would like to share on ways you've used custom objects or anything else, let me know.
Yeah, our
Awesome.
use case was
Thank
very
you.
similar to Alex. We had same thing. We had an e-com system, but it was not hooked up to our CRM or our marketing automation platform. So in order to keep track of what the type of products were that people were ordering, or what product family even, in order to better serve them relevant content, we used a custom object to be able to tie all of that together.
Nice. Some really good examples there. So let's hop on to the next one. So this is to Warren. Is it possible to schedule a sales alert to send only once a week or once a month?
Yes, is the short answer. But my real question behind that is, why would you want to do that? And the reason I say that is because the business value of a sales alert for me is I guess there's an immediate alert there, and often it's kind of like a high profile thing. It could be something as simple as a contact us for a target account. So in addition to the CRM notifications and anything you've got going on there, you might want to alert as well. And then there's that whole issue of PII data. So, I mean, I guess I use these sparingly, but scheduling, I can't see really the value of doing that. I would use triggers for that. But yes, is the short answer.
Can you explain how you might set it up in Marketo to do weekly or monthly?
Yeah, so you could, so basically when you go to schedule like any other email, you can do like a reoccurring kind of send on that. So when you go back on the drop down and you schedule, you can schedule it to be reoccurring. And so the use case, I guess, for this is for just notification typed elements, but that's how I do it.
Awesome. That's cool. So Brooke, how do you pass a Google Analytics cookie, it's a mouthful, parameter when a Marco form is submitted? I mean, we talk about UTMs a lot, but I guess Google Analytics, with the cookies that we have and the tracking, how do you get those through when they're submitted?
Yeah, so for me, the biggest thing, I like to use cookies for retaining UTM parameters, especially if you have a primary domain and a subdomain, maybe your Marketo landing pages for content assets or registration, and you might direct there from your homepage. You want to have a cookie that's set up with some cross-domain tracking so that you can carry those UTM parameters as somebody clicks through your site and you don't lose those. Then when you actually set up your Marketo forms, you're going to want to set up with hidden fields for each of the UTM parameters that you intend to capture. Make sure that you have prefill disabled. If you have it enabled, you will not be able to write new data there. And then you'll be able to identify in that hidden field where that information should be captured from. And you'll have the choice to define if you want it to be a URL parameter or if you want it to be a cookie value. So that's what you'll point to. Approve that on your form so that it pushes live, and then that cookie grabs that UTM data for you, passes it into that form on submission, and now you have that available in Marketo to use for your reporting. Could even be used to do things like setting source or assigning field values related to a program membership so that you can use that for analytics and attribution tracking after the fact.
Awesome. And just a leading question, this is probably more for my interest than anything. When you're obviously putting those cookies on the machine, when you're on people's machines, is there any guidance for how to get those cookies to kind of track people around? And if they come on, say, one entry page and then actually finally fill in a page, is there any resources that you may have or places you can point people to start looking at how to build out those cookies?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. If you have an internal developer resource, that's going to be the first place that you're going to want to go to have somebody actually write that cookie for you. But there are also quite a few resources out there on Marketing Nation that are searchable that can even give you sample code that you can put in, and you can just identify the API name that you use in your organization for your UTM parameters. And there are some tools out there that can also help you build that custom. So definitely, if that's something that you don't have in place already, I would jump on Marketing Nation, and a quick search will be able to pull up a bunch of different resources and sample codes for you.
Awesome. That's really awesome. Slightly selfish of me to ask that question as well, but yeah, that's great. So Chiara, how do I redirect a landing page that is no longer in use?
Yep, so that one's pretty simple. You'll just, assuming you have admin privileges, you'll want to go to admin, and then under admin, select landing pages. And then from there, there's 2 tabs. There's, I believe, landing pages and then rules. If you select rules and then click new, it's pretty self-explanatory from there. You'll find the page that you want to redirect, and then you'll select either a Marketo page you want to redirect it to, or select not a Marketo landing page and put in the URL that you want to redirect to.
Nice. We like simple ones like that.
Caveat.
Awesome. So let's go.
Sorry. A caveat there that I want to plug in is just making sure that you don't unapprove the landing page. It needs to remain an approved page when you make that redirect happen. As soon as you unapprove it, it'll fall back to the kind of general fallback redirect that you have built into your instance. So just a catch there that has caught me before. So I want to make sure to share it.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think that's probably one that's caught me out a few times as well. That's definitely a good one. That's cool. So going back to Alex, is it possible to unplug or plug in Marketo into a new CRM? Like, can you pull it from one CRM system into another one?
Thanks. I believe no is the answer. I've never actually tried it, but I believe from what I've read, you are not able to plug in a CRM once you have one already plugged into the system. You would have to kind of create spin up a whole new instance to plug it into that instance. You can disable it or deactivate it, but you cannot physically take it out and put a different org in.
Awesome. And I think you can change the sync user, if I'm correct. So I think I actually just did that recently. You can change the sync user, you just can't create a new one. I guess the question would always be, as we all ask, is why would you want to do that? Awesome. Okay, so we'll start with Warren with this one, but obviously anyone feel free to jump in. I'm new to Marketo. Where should I start? This is definitely a big one for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, so how I would address that is that it depends on your learning type. If you like things to be described to you, I would recommend joining like a Marketo user group and really just find out about the conversations that are happening around Marketo, because that will kind of direct you where you should be looking in the Marketo documentation and really get a flavor for what Marketo does. And then what I did as someone, I guess, who was self-taught, is I then tried to use Marketo to fix a specific problem. So someone had given me a problem. I went through the documentation, I attended user groups and tried to really fix that problem. The other element I guess you could do is just play around and break stuff in like a sandbox instance. That's the best way to learn, like find out really what it does. So, I guess it depends on your learning type. I mean, the Marketo documentation is super good if you like that way of learning. But if you're like me and you just want to get in there and get your hands dirty, get in a sandbox instance, send yourself some emails, figure out how to do some use cases, and then if you can't figure it out, bring that question to a user group.
Yeah, I totally agree with Warren, and that's how I learned as well. I would also say is it university.marketo.com? There's some pretty great trainings as well. And I don't know if anyone knows the actual URL for it, but there's one where there's actually like a sample Marketo instance that you can kind of play around with if you don't have a sandbox, so that you can break stuff without having a real impact. So that's super helpful. But I would also agree that user groups have been absolutely the most impactful for me. Personally, I think, I learned a lot from the documentation, but the user groups is where you really learn to like not just use Marketo by the book, but kind of tweak it and have fun with it and do some more creative problem solving with it. So highly, highly recommend user groups. And bonus of everything being virtual is you can join anyone in the world right now.
Awesome. What about Brooke or Alex? What if you're new to Marketo, can you add any additional resources or things that where to start?
Yeah, I mean, to tag on to the users groups, that was really how I got started. As Chiara mentioned, right now you can join users groups that are anywhere in the world, but there's also a YouTube channel where users groups are being recorded right now with everything being virtual and added to that. So there is a ton of information that's available there if you're not able to attend those sessions. And, just being connected to the Marketo network through Marketing Nation online, connect with people via LinkedIn, reach out to your local users groups, and, reach out to the champs. I mean, we're a pretty open book set of people. So, if you have questions or you're looking for resources, there's always going to be somebody that if they don't know the answer, they're going to know somebody that does and can point you in the right direction, because they've been around and they know who's got strong skill sets and where. It could be random things like velocity scripting or APIs or really technical pieces and be like, hey, I might not know that, but I know somebody who does, or a MarTech tool integration. So reach out, make friends.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I would have to agree. Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to ask you next anyway, what else you had in your pocket?
I would agree with kind of everyone's thoughts. I'm very similar to Warren. I like to get in and get my hands dirty. I self-taught by getting into a sandbox and playing around, seeing what other people's projects were from a user group standpoint. One of the nice things about the Cleveland mug that we were doing for a while is we'd have like meetings where it was kind of sharing, coming with your problem and sharing it with the group, and screen sharing, putting your instance up on the wall, and everybody kind of helps and you use that kind of brain trust in the group to kind of learn. So definitely getting involved with your local Cleveland mug, with the community or the champion program, reaching out to a champion, I would highly suggest.
Awesome. Would help if I could find my mute button. Cool. So let's jump to one. Actually, we had one come in as well about an expansion on the custom objects question. So let me pass that one over to Warren. Can we export data from custom objects?
So my understanding is from the native UI, you cannot export custom object data. However, what you will be able to do is you'll be able to query specifically to certain custom objects data against, and that could be a way that you could maybe fix one of your problems. So you'll have that then in your smart list to query those values and get someone that's met a certain criteria. If you have access to a dev team, you can use the API, and the API has access to the custom object data, and that'd be a way you could do maybe a mass query or set up some reporting, but it's not a native function, I believe, from the Marketo UI.
Awesome. Hopefully that helped with the person who asked that question. So let's jump on to another one. So let's pass this to Alex. What program naming convention would you recommend? And obviously, I know everyone's different, so if we have different responses, feel free to jump in.
Definitely. Well, I'll start with kind of a basic Marketo sorts, numerically and then alphabetically. So depending on how you really want to organize your instance, you can start with dates out front if you'd like to organize them like year first. So everything that's built in that specific year kind of is in order in that way. I think it really comes down to what kind of what your business, what your different channels and different ways of going to market are. I know as an example, we have kind of four or five lines of business that we work in. So one of our first naming conventions is specifically a abbreviation of that business. Then we go into geo based. Then we have what year the program's around. Then we have different segments built in, and then all the way at the end is our kind of custom information about that specific campaign. So your campaign might be for a certain line of business, and geo might be 90% the same. And then at the end, you have your customization of, oh, it's for event A, B, or C, or webinar X, Y, and Z, something like that. So I would say it really depends on your business, and how you want to organize. But from our point of view, we do it by lines of business. We do it by channel and geo. And then at the end, we have our kind of customization specific to that campaign.
Awesome. Does anyone else have any other ways in which I've seen multiple ways of which we can use naming conventions? What does everyone else do? Similar or something completely different?
I mean,
I will take that silence as.
I was going to say, I mean, it depends on what you're looking to search by. Like a lot of the time, it will be based on like business units and also sometimes the quarter that you want to represent. So that information tends to be used as kind of a naming convention in order to be able to search for certain things. Now, I would add that within the Marketo UI, the search and the filters has been improved. So they're thinking about that when creating a naming convention could help, I suppose. But from my perspective, it's always, yes, there's some sophisticated ways that you could add some very complex naming, but really it's based on, are you able to find that thing? So.
Awesome. That's cool. And the only other thing I've seen that may be slightly different is if you're going to start doing product interest scoring, is actually having product names. So I think, like you said, like we're on like business units, you could have product names either at the beginning or somewhere in that naming convention, so that if they're engaging with a particular product piece of content, that you can start to score them slightly differently. But that's when you start getting, I think, a little bit more down the line of the scoring. So I'm just having a quick look at the other questions we have coming in. This is a good one. And again, feel free, anyone, if they want to jump in. Do you prefer to use a Marketo landing page or embedded forms on your own website? And why? Why is there a particular reason why you use that?
I can take that one. I think the biggest thing for me with that is, what are the skill sets within your team? Oftentimes, if you're using a CMS-based landing page, you're going to need to have marketers that are trained and know how to use that CMS, how to publish to it, how to embed your forms over there. If you have a really complex CMS that really is very dev heavy, then it might not be practical for your marketers to be doing that. For your Marketo landing pages, that's something your marketers are probably in there. They're using Marketo. They're familiar with the interface, but it is also a bit more restrictive. So there are pros and cons to each way of going about it. And the biggest thing comes down to what is the training and resources within your own team, first and foremost.
I was just going to add as well, like that question, I believe, is asked by Michael Tucker, and he definitely has an answer for that kind of thing. But also what I would add to that is, how long is that page going to be around? And also, what's the traffic to your site in general? Because a lot of people say about the SEO benefit of having it on your web page, but I've yet to see any significant, any pages that have a form on it long enough to sort of get any sort of SEO benefit on the back of it, particularly with stuff like webinars. So that's an element of why you'd have it on a web page versus a landing page, for example. But I guess the landing pages are just easier to configure, like kind of Brooke said. So, I mean, it depends, but you could use either.
Yeah, I would say I agree with that as well, Warren. So for us, we have all of our events and things that have a really short lifespan. We just do them in Marketo so that the marketer can have complete control. Date changes, we don't need a dev to help with that. But then we have things like contact us and demo requests and things like that, they stay on our website forever, and we want like a really great user experience. Those are the kind of things that we embed directly onto our website.
I think there's also tools that are now available. Sorry, Julz. I was to say that I think there's also now tools available to help creation of those. Like I have heard of splash pages to support the Marketo landing page side. I've not heard necessarily good things about that. But I also know that things like Knack, for example, have just launched their landing page editor, and also Jetto do that. So there's stuff to make the creation of landing pages easier, to which that then the value of doing the landing pages nice and quickly is then greater.
Awesome. So let's jump onto a couple of more general questions. And again, these are kind of questions for everyone, everyone and anyone. So, and it's kind of two into one question. So, are there any kind of best tips and tricks that you would like to share? And then off the back of that, what feature did you use the most in 2020, especially with everything that happened last year? So any tips and tricks, and what was the feature you used the most last year? And if you want, we can go around. I can kind of pick out. So if we go with Brooke first.
Yeah, I think mine's probably one of the unsung heroes in the Marketo system. I relied a lot this year on the integrations with AdBridge to LinkedIn, more so than I have in years past. A lot of the clients that I work with did very well in their performance this year, and a lot of that was driven by LinkedIn. LinkedIn lead gen forms specifically. I've had several clients where their performance using lead gen forms has been a 20 to 30% conversion rate versus ads that'll come in single digits. And in one case, a 70% conversion rate for an asset that a client put out. But being able to connect that directly back to Marketo and then tag those people, and then being able to then take that audience, and if they don't reconnect via email from a nurture program or something like that, being able to then resync them back over to that platform for a remarketing list was really something that I used a lot more this year than I have in the past and saw great results from.
Awesome. So, Chiara, what did you use the most, and any tips and tricks?
Yeah, so I think in terms of what I use the most, definitely just webinars on webinars and our the GoToWebinar integration. We did so many this year, and I think along with that, this is probably such a simple tip, but my favorite feature in Marketo is just having a good program library to clone off of, and just cloning off of everything instead of having to start from scratch, instead of, oh, do I need this smart campaign here? What about this flow step? Just having a really solid program library. I spent a lot of time just making sure ours was solid this year so that we didn't have to worry about reinventing the wheel for every webinar, and saving us a lot of time.
I can go next.
Awesome.
Or
say, Warren, you go next.
Oh, were you calling them out? Oh, okay, sorry. I just maybe jumped the queue in front of Alex. So I have maybe two as well, so even more so. So firstly is the request campaign function. I've used that more than ever, and the reason that is because the volume of campaigns going out. So often some of the clients that I've been working with have sent 10 times more emails in 2020. So therefore, the order of operations becomes important. Now, what I like to do is that I don't like to utilize wait steps if I can avoid it. I like to be really in control of when those things are going to happen. So I'll use the request campaign function within the flow step to make sure that thing happens next. And I'll also use within my smart campaign just the order. I'll literally name it of that order of things that are going to happen, and I'll write in the description if there's anything else that's going to happen before then, so I can then keep it really nice and clear, particularly with your operational programs. The other one I want to highlight is people performance reports. Now, I use this as like a fancy pivot table, but within that, in your setup options, you'll have an option to group by, and I'll always group that by unsubscribe. I'll set it by all time, and I'll create a number of different smart lists then to add columns. So my use case here is that I want to check that the different sectors of the database are not getting too many emails, or if they are getting emails, how many are they? So I'll use the smart list to say, is sent more than 2 emails, is not sent more than 3, and build that out as columns in people performance reports. And then I can then automate like as a report to be sent to me. And that actually, I learned that this year. So I've been using that all the time. So.
Nice. I love that. I love that our tips and tricks seem to be getting more and more advanced as we do more and more Champ office hours and when we get kind of into that platform even more. So lastly, let's go with Alex. Same question. Any tips and tricks, and what features, functions did you use the most in 2020?
So I guess a tip and trick that I like to use. So I'm not sending emails on a regular basis. I'm more kind of administering the platform. So I'm not in campaigns every day. What I really like from my point of view is the audit capability. That's something that's not always used that often, to check if somebody comes and says, who sent this email or something like that. I can quickly go in and kind of check those types of things out, or why was this person taking this action or synced with this type of thing. You can kind of see who built and then go ask that user. We have 50 something users in our instance, so we have quite a few that have different rights and roles. So it's very easy for it to get mixed up. So that audit trail really allows me to jump in and investigate quickly. From what I've used mostly, I guess I've been working more on the technical side. A lot lately. We have an internal platform that we use, and it's not connected to Marketo. I guess it's not connected in a way that we can easily pull data back and forth. So I've been working a lot on the API side and the webhook side to really try to establish passing data back and forth between our Marketo system and this third-party platform to really start to give insight on segmentation and other information. So that's been a new area that I've used previously, but not nearly as heavily as I have in the past 6 months.
Awesome. So lots of really good tips and tricks and features and functions that the Marketo has to offer. So I think we have, that's pretty much all of our questions that we've gone through so far. So thank you very much for everyone who joined in. If you do have any more questions, please feel free to reach out to us via user groups, LinkedIn. I'm sure you can get hold of all the champs on all of those different channels. There's multiple Slack channels out there for MOPS users as well. So obviously, if you need anything, please do let us know. As I said at the beginning, this is being recorded, so it will be shared. So obviously, if you weren't able to attend it, you'll get this recording. If you were and you had any other questions, or if you just wanted to follow up on some of the things that we said, please feel free to watch the recording back. So thank you very much, especially to those who are staying late with us. Warren, I know it's late in the evening for you. So yeah, have a great day, everyone, and I'm sure everyone will speak to you soon. Thank you very much to the champs for those awesome answers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.